What's happening, YouTube? Jonathan Pariente, the Education 10 here, coming at you guys with another video. I want to ask you guys to please continue to check and subscribe to my channel for more YouTube videos. And well, NFL Week 5 is now coming on our direction. Had a pretty exciting Thursday night game to start off the week. The Seattle Seahawks took on the Los Angeles Rams. And this is a game that really came quite down to the wire. A good, solid offensive battle by both teams. Russell Wilson threw for 4 touchdown passes. Todd Gurley had a big game with 2 touchdowns. Jared Goff made some big plays. And at the end of the day, the Rams had one more chance after they had turned it over late in the fourth quarter. Seattle somehow was stopped when they could have gone for the game with a simple run. LA took the ball over, and in the end, Greg Zuerlein missed a 44-yard field goal that would have allowed the Rams to win, but they ended up losing 30-29. So we have a lot of very interesting things to look forward to for Week 5. Sam Darnold is progressing better. Thought maybe there was a chance he'd play, but the mono nuke is still not quite gone from his system yet, so he will be out for another week. No Devontae Adams this week. He's out with a toe injury. Josh Allen was cleared to play this week after going through concussions protocol. He will play this week for Week 5 for Buffalo. So definitely will be a lot of interesting matchups as we go into this 5th week of the NFL season. We are now a quarter of the way through. And this will be a very interesting number of games we're going to have. Really could determine some possible playoff matchups, particularly later on down the road. But let's dive right into them without taking a few minutes to hesitate here. And let's get into it now. Let's start with our Week 5 matchups, beginning with New England and Washington. Well, that should be a very curious game. New England played by far their worst game of the year last week. Buffalo Bills proved they can hang with New England. To hold Brady to under 200 yards, have him throw an interception, and just basically the Patriots had to really squeak out a win, something they don't usually do. Now, New England did lose their kicker, Stephen Gostkowski, so they did have to bring in a new kicker. Mike Nugent will take over for the rest of the year, presumably for the Patriots. Gostkowski's out for the year with a hip injury. He'll have to undergo season-ending surgery. So as far as who wins this game, Washington brought in Haskins last week, and he looked awful. Case Keenum was awful. The Redskins really just have no direction with their team right now, and I don't see them picking up a win, not against New England. New England's pretty angry about, even though they won, they didn't play their best. I say New England's going to really turn it up a notch on Washington in FedEx Field. I'm going to say New England wins this game, pretty blowing away easy, 31-3. I don't think Washington's going to even get a touchdown. Next game, Jacksonville, Carolina. Well, Gardner Minshew coming off a huge comeback win last week against Denver. Carolina was coming off I don't know how I guess you could say this. Carolina was coming off a pretty good performance last week. If you kind of have to slice any way you put it, they got past a very good offense in the Texans with Deshaun Watson. So as they go into this matchup with Jacksonville, this will be very curious. It's in Carolina. Gardner Minshew's definitely become a new revelation in Jacksonville, but I don't know if he's going to have a comeback magic like he did against the Broncos. I don't see Jacksonville quite coming back like they did last week. So my prediction for this game, I say Carolina with Kyle Allen are going to win this game. Close game, 24-20, and Minshew will throw a very costly pick to cost them the game. On to our next match, Arizona-Cincinnati. Well, 2 winless football teams again. This time it will not be a Monday night game this time. Pittsburgh in Heinz Field, they rolled over Cincinnati. I mean, I never saw Cincinnati get pummeled like that. So, Kyler Murray, Andy Dalton. I think this is going to be a very even matchup. Both of these teams really have just not played well. Although Kyler Murray has showed some signs of what he could be in the NFL. And if you look at this match, the Bengals still don't have A.J. Green. Arizona's relatively going to have all their weapons for this one, so I think this is a game Kyler Murray, I think, will go off. Again, who dey? Who are the Bengals? They're about to go 0-5. That's where they're going to be, and that's what they are. Arizona's going to win this game pretty easy. I'm going to say 30-17. Kyler Murray will throw for 3 touchdown passes. On to our next match, Atlanta and Houston. Well, Atlanta's coming off another just ugly loss. That's... How often do I say this about Atlanta? For them to start 1-3, and they got wrecked by the Titans in their home arena. Ow. And now you're going into Houston, and, you just mentioned Houston can't be happy about losing to Carolina last week, and I expect Deshaun Watson will come out with a vengeance. And the Houston defense is pretty solid. I think even with Matty Ice at the helm, I don't think they're going to quite crack the Houston Texan defense as easily. So I predict Houston will go into this game with a pretty solid game. Again, it will be about a couple possession game, but I think Houston is going to find a way to win, particularly with the Astros in the playoffs. I think that gives Houston a little more invigoration to want to win this coming game. So I'm going to say Houston will win 30-20. Deshaun Watson will throw for about 240 yards. DeAndre Hopkins will have another solid game, and Houston will roll to another easy win. Next up, we have an NFC South matchup. The Saints and the Buccaneers in New Orleans. Well, this is going to be very intriguing considering how Tampa Bay came off a very impressive win over the Rams last week, putting up 55 points against the Rams. Jameis Winston had one of his best games of the year, and you really like the weapons at the disposal that the Buccaneers have. You love Godley, you love Mike Evans, you love O.J. Howard. It's just a good, solid team, Peyton Barber at the helm. The question is, again, though, can Winston put it together in big games like these? The Saints are one of those big games, and the fact that you're playing in New Orleans is one of the hardest places to play. Drew Brees is still not quite back yet. Bridgewater is going to start, and Bridgewater has, to his credit, played well. The Saints had to win a very close game with the Cowboys, winning 12-10. That was a game they didn't score a touchdown at all, but the Saints found a way to win, which was most important. And I would expect that to continue. I think Bridgewater will do enough that the Saints should be able to pull away from the Buccaneers. Won't be a blowout, but I think the Saints will do enough. I'd say they win 20-13. Not a high-scoring game, but I think Bridgewater will do enough. I think Michael Thomas will do just enough for them to win this game. On to our next game, Minnesota, the Giants. Well, the Giants are 2-0 in the era of Daniel Jones. This game is at MetLife Stadium. The Vikings have had a lot of controversy going around with their quarterbacks. Kirk Cousins, Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen have been calling out the lack of plays they've been getting the ball. They feel like they've not been getting involved in the offense as much. So this is going to be a very, very interesting match. And we'll see if Kirk Cousins can really answer the bell. Because, again, every year you look for Kirk Cousins to be that answer for his football team. And in the big moments, he constantly chokes. And right now, Diggs and Thielen, you figured they were going to have much better years up to this point than they're having right now up to this season. And Kirk Cousins just has completely let this team down. And even with a lackluster Giant defense, I still think as long as Daniel Jones is here, the Giants are going to continue to keep winning. Because the Giants have just looked like a completely different team since Jones took over. It's evident. So I say the Giants will find a way once again to keep the winning going. I think this will come down to a late field goal. Giants will win this game. It'll be close, 27-24. Rosas will hit a game-winning field goal. Daniel Jones will throw 2 touchdown passes. The Giants do not have Barkley this week, but he's very close to coming back. Maybe another week or two, the Giants will see Saquon Barkley running the ball again. On to our next game, Chicago and Oakland in the black hole. Well, Derek Carr, to his credit, led the Raiders to a nice win last week over Indianapolis. But now you play the Bears. I know it's in Oakland, but the Bears' defense is about as punishing as any defense in the league. You do also kind of wonder, though, Mitchell Trubisky, when is he really going to... You feel like he still hasn't established as the main quarterback, even though he's been named the starter in his second year now. as the starting quarterback. Is Trubisky still the answer? You just don't know. Now, looking at this game, I think if you're Chicago or Oakland, who needs this game a little bit more? Quite frankly, the Bears do. The Bears are 3-1, and they have to keep pace with Green Bay. Once Green Bay really gets going, they can be impossible to stop. And the big thing is the Packers. The Packers beat the Bears already early, so the Bears really have to keep the winning going and beat the common opponents that the Packers have won against. So I predict the Bears will find a way to win this game. Low-scoring game, but I think Trubisky will make one or two big plays that will allow the Bears to squeak out the win. It'll be a 13-10 win in favor of Chicago. They will do enough, not a ton, but they'll do enough to win the game. Their defense will hold the Raiders in check. On to our next game, and fresh off the bye week, the New York Jets against the Philadelphia Eagles. It's in Lincoln Financial Field. It's in Philadelphia, and, well, the Jets in their entire history have never beaten the Eagles. As stunning as that sounds, in the entire history of the Jet franchise, they have never beaten the Eagles. And again, no Sam Darnold. He's out for another week with the mono, so Luke Falk is going to start, and, as long as the Jets' offensive line continues to play like it's played for 3 games, again, I think the same problems are going to hurt the Jets for the 4th week in a row. And, they're probably going to get Mosley back. They're probably going to get a few people back. Chris Herndon's not too far away. But, until this O-line gets fixed with the Jets, they're going nowhere. I won't be surprised if they're even 0-6 by the time they even get their first win. That's really just how it is. Adam Gase's play calling is terrible. The O-line has looked like a mess. And the Jet offense just can't score. So, Philadelphia, while they're only 2-2, I think Carson Wentz is going to have his game, and he's going to come out pretty angry. I expect the Eagles will win this in a romp. 30-13, Philadelphia wins. Carson Wentz will throw for 2 touchdown passes and 0 picks. Next game, a normally classic AFC North matchup. Ravens-Steelers in Heinz Field, and Mason Rudolph finally showed you a little bit of what he can do, which was very impressive. The Ravens defense was chewed up by the Browns last week in miserable fashion. They gave up 35 points to Baker Mayfield. Nick Chubb ran all over them for 3 touchdowns. And the Steelers defense, at least against the Bengals, looked very fluid last week. And if Mason Rudolph can play that type of style of game and not make any mistakes, I think you like the Steelers' chances, particularly because this is in Heinz Field. This adds a little more to the fire here. And I think very slowly the flaws with Lamar Jackson are being exposed now. First couple weeks before he played Mahomes, he was the most talked about quarterback in the league, that he was finally turning the corner. Well, the last couple of weeks, Lamar Jackson has been back to the interception and not throwing accurate machine. And I would expect against a reinvigorated Steeler defense that probably will continue. Close game as it will always be. I think the Steelers will squeak out a 3-point win, 23-20. Mason Rudolph will make that one big touchdown late to give the Steelers the win. Next game, Buffalo, Tennessee. In Tennessee, Buffalo coming off a very tough loss to New England last week, but they're 3-1, so they're still right for the picking in that AFC East to continue a run. The Titans have been, again, we're coming off that nice win against Atlanta. They're a good team, but again, Mariota, you always wonder which Marcus Mariota are you getting. And when you play against the Buffalo defense in the first few games, you better be ready for Buffalo, because their defense is no joke. And with Josh Allen being cleared to play this week, I think Buffalo's got a very good chance to really get the winning back on track for Buffalo after that rough loss. So I say Buffalo will win this game on the road. Again, it will be another close battle. I'm going to say 17-10. Buffalo will hold off Tennessee by 1 point. Next is Denver and the Chargers, the first of the 4 o'clock games. Denver just is having hard luck winning a game. They're 0-4, and now you're going up against Phillip Rivers, and it's in San Diego. It's in Los Angeles. And I expect this is going to be another long game for Denver. And now they've lost Bradley Chubb for the year. I just think with Von Miller alone, that defense can only do so much. I think the Chargers are going to win this game relatively easy. Phillip Rivers, Melvin Gordon's coming back pretty soon, so I think Phillip Rivers is in very, very good shape going forward, and the Chargers will keep the winning going. It'll be by a couple possessions. Chargers will win this game 27-10. Phillip Rivers will have another almost perfect, accurate game. He'll throw for 3 touchdown passes, and it will be enough for the Chargers to win. On to our next game. It's Green Bay and Dallas. Well, a very, very solid matchup between really, I guess you can call them two of... I know Dallas is called the America's team, but Green Bay is just about as an America's team as the Dallas Cowboys. And this will be a very nice game. Green Bay, Dallas, in Dallas. And I think we're going to see a very nice high-scoring matchup between Prescott and Aaron Rodgers. You can't really argue about it. I think Ezekiel Elliott's going to have a nice game. I think Aaron Jones will have a big game. The big weakness, though, Green Bay will not have Davante Adams. That's going to be a little bit of a stinger. And I think that's going to slightly be what costs Green Bay in this game. The Cowboys have just been running away over every single team this year. I know they're 3-1, that tough loss to New Orleans. But really, for the most part, the Cowboys' system is perfect. The O-line has been running over teams' defenses. Ezekiel Elliott, when he has time, can just do magic with the ball. Witten coming back, I think, was the biggest help for Dallas. And just having Amari Cooper and Gallup, just having all that weaponry for Prescott, who finally looks like he's turned the corner, I think will be a very key role for him as he faces Green Bay. This will be a close game, no doubt, and this is going to be a high-scoring game. Dallas is going to win this game 35-32. Both quarterbacks will throw for over 300 yards. That's where I look at it. On to our Sunday night game, Indianapolis and Kansas City. Wow, love this matchup. Jacoby Brissett, Patrick Mahomes, and I think the Chiefs are going to continue to roll. As much as I love the Colts, just Brissett can only do so much. If this was Andrew Luck, I would have said this is a closer game. But Patrick Mahomes just is playing on a different level of any other quarterback so far, and I expect Kansas City will keep that going, as Patrick Mahomes will go back to actually throwing a touchdown. Shockingly, he did not throw one last week, but it made no difference. Even though the Lions gave him a good fight, it's going to be more of the same. The Chiefs are going to eventually just steamroll over the Colts. 28-17. Patrick Mahomes will throw for another 3 touchdown passes, and it will be another walk-in-the-park game, I think, for the Chiefs. Particularly this game is at Arrowhead, so, good luck, Indy, because you're going to need it. And finally, last but not least, the Monday night game, and this will be a very interesting game. Cleveland against San Francisco in the Bay Area, and we are seeing a really rejuvenated Jimmy Garoppolo going up against Baker Mayfield. And the Browns did have to answer some tough criticism early when they started off 1-2. They won that huge game over the Ravens, which was, I think, a real statement game, particularly because they did it in Baltimore. That really tells you a lot of stuff. For the Browns to go in there and win a game like that in a tough arena in Baltimore, where they have struggled throughout their many years before Baker got here, the Browns are not to be messed with now, and I think this game will be a very good battle for Baker and a good battle for Jimmy Garoppolo. And right now, as the Seahawks continue to roll, which now they're 4-1 right now. Right now, the Niners are ahead in that division of the NFC West. They're undefeated and they're 3-0. And you see how different Garoppolo helps that Niners team. They just play with a whole different offense when Garoppolo is there. It's very clear. So I think that will continue for another week. I think the Niners defense is going to continue to play solidly. So I expect Jimmy Garoppolo will have a pretty good game again. It won't be a very high-scoring game, but the Niners will do enough. So I predict Garoppolo will throw for 2 touchdowns, be a couple field goals thrown in. But at the end of the day, the Niners will beat the Browns 23-16. It will come down to a big touchdown late that Garoppolo will throw to George Kittle. That'll be enough for the Niners to escape with a 1-possession win. And I think Baker will throw a very, very unfortunate touchdown late in the game that will cost the Browns this game. So 23-16 will be the final score as the Niners will stay undefeated. So for Week 5, 2 teams will be on bye weeks. Miami and Detroit are on byes this week. And then the bye weeks will be increasing over the next couple of weeks. So we'll definitely see what happens for Week 5. I think we'll have a very, very interesting story to tell as Week 5 gets underway for the NFL. Jonathan Pariente, The Education 10, saying bye for now.